Chosen one, stop and listen. This moment has been written into your story since before you were born. Heaven is leaning close, and the Spirit whispers directly to you now. This isn't coincidence. This is divine timing. Everything around you may seem ordinary, but something in the unseen realm is shifting. The air feels heavier, charged because God Himself has stepped into your timeline. You've been feeling it lately, haven't you? The sense that something bigger than you is approaching, the way your spirit stirs in silence, the way certain doors have closed without reason. It wasn't rejection, it was redirection. Heaven has been moving pieces in the background while you thought nothing was happening. What you call delay, God calls design. For too long you've carried questions that burned holes in your faith. Why me? Why now? Why this pain? But today, the divine answer comes. You are being built in secret for a public purpose. The tears, the isolation, the confusion, all of it was preparation for this hour. Heaven did not abandon you in the wilderness. It was training you to hear the whisper of destiny through the noise. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 29, verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. That promise was not a general statement. It was written with your name woven into it. You've been moving toward a divine appointment all along. Every time you thought it was over, God was rewriting the next scene. You didn't miss your calling. You were being shaped for it. The cracks you carry are not signs of failure. They are proof that light can now flow through you unhindered. Look back for a moment. Think of everything that tried to stop you, the heartbreak, the betrayal, the exhaustion that made you want to give up. You survived what others couldn't, and that's not by chance. It's because the breath of God still lives within you. You are not done. You are not behind. You are being summoned into a moment that demands your obedience. This message finds you today because heaven has decided it's time for your awakening. No more hiding. No more shrinking to fit into spaces that cannot hold your light. God has seen your secret endurance, your quiet faith, your hidden strength. And now the trumpet of heaven sounds over your life. Rise. Chosen one. The season of waiting is closing, and the new chapter begins with your yes. Pause for a heartbeat. Feel that tug in your spirit. That's the sound of alignment. Heaven is saying, step forward, that you have been anointed for this exact generation, not to blend in, but to stand apart. The world may not understand you, but heaven celebrates you. The storms that once broke you are now the winds that will lift you higher. Do not delay. This message is not background noise. It is the divine signal you have been praying for. You are standing at the final step before breakthrough, and your agreement will unlock the next gate. If you sense this word confirming what heaven has already whispered to your heart, declare it publicly as an act of faith. Type the prophetic number 777 in the comments, a symbol of divine completion, and say, I am ready. Then like, share, and subscribe, not for vanity, but to spread this awakening so other chosen ones can hear heaven's call through you. Today is not random, it is sacred. The universe holds its breath because one obedient heart, yours, has finally said yes. You have always known deep within that you were not like the rest. Even as a child, you felt the difference, a quiet awareness that you saw the world through another lens. You carried a sensitivity others dismissed, a sense of justice that burned too brightly, a longing for truth that could not be silenced. While others settled for the surface, you searched for meaning beneath everything. You didn't fit in because you weren't meant to. Heaven never designed you for blending, it designed you for breaking patterns. There were times you tried to hide that light, to dull your fire so others would feel comfortable near you. You played small so they wouldn't call you strange. But every attempt to bury your purpose only made the ache stronger. Something inside refused to die, the divine spark that marks all who are chosen. The world told you to conform, but the heavens whispered, "Stand apart." You have always been set apart for something higher. You have walked through rooms that could not contain your spirit. You have spoken truths that unsettled the comfortable. You have been misunderstood, not because you were wrong, but because you were early. Prophets always sound strange before their time, yet every rejection became direction. Every misunderstanding a mirror revealing what you carry. Those who pushed you away were unknowingly making space for your calling to unfold. The ancient words recorded in the first letter of Peter, chapter 2, verse 9. Remind us, but you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his wonderful light. Read that again, a royal priesthood. That means you are not simply surviving, you are reigning. You are not a mistake that happened to find mercy. You are a design that heaven refused to hide. When God placed you on this earth, he stamped eternity's seal on your soul. You were born with divine assignments encoded into your spirit missions that could only awaken through adversity. The loneliness you felt was not punishment, it was preservation. Heaven had to isolate you to protect the oil you carry. The friendships that crumbled, the environments that no longer fit, were all pruning for purpose. God removed what could contaminate your anointing. And though you cried through the letting go, heaven smiled because pruning always precedes power. You may not see it yet, but the very things that made you feel too much are the same traits the world will one day need. Your sensitivity is discernment. Your restlessness is divine urgency. Your quiet strength is spiritual authority forming. When others mocked you for being different, heaven wrote distinguished beside your name. You are not random. You are rare. There is a reason your battles felt heavier than others. You carry the kind of light that provokes darkness. But instead of shrinking, you are being trained to shine through resistance. Every attack has refined your character. Every disappointment has sharpened your discernment. You no longer see through fear, you see through faith. Chosen one, it is time to stop apologizing for the way God wired you. You are not broken. You are built differently. You are the evidence that heaven still sends answers wrapped in human form. And while others chase comfort, you carry calling. Remember, this destiny never apologizes for its brightness. The world may not understand what heaven is doing with you, but soon they will witness what happens when the hidden ones rise. You were never ordinary. You were always divine design in disguise. You fought battles that no one saw. Behind every smile you offered the world, there were nights when your soul trembled. The pain you carried wasn't weakness. It was the evidence of your endurance. Every storm that tried to break you only revealed how much weight your spirit could carry. You were forged in the secret places, trained in silence for wars that others could not survive. When people left, when prayers seemed unanswered, when the light dimmed and you wondered if heaven still remembered your name, those were not moments of abandonment. They were moments of alignment. God was stripping away everything false so the real you could emerge. You weren't losing, you were being purified. Every closed door protected you from premature exposure. We are reminded through the writings of David in the book of Psalms, chapter 34, verse 19. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers him out of them all. That verse is your story. You've endured many afflictions, mental, emotional, spiritual, but deliverance was always hidden inside the struggle. You were being trained for authority. The very attacks that came against you were the same tools heaven used to strengthen your spirit. What the enemy intended for harm became the sculptor's chisel, shaping you into a vessel fit for divine use. Think back to every time you thought it was over. You said, "This will break me," yet it didn't. You said, "I can't make it through this one," but you did. You've been through fires that others never escaped, and still you stand not bitter but wiser, not lost but led. That's because heaven placed within you a resilience that doesn't come from this world. You are walking proof that survival can be sacred. Each trial carved compassion into your heart. You now see pain differently. You understand the tears of others because you have wept the same ones. You no longer judge brokenness, you recognize it as the soil where grace grows. The hidden battles you fought have birthed empathy, patience, and discernment that no book could ever teach. Heaven trusted you with hardship so that you could carry healing for others. And though no one applauded your endurance, the angels recorded it. Every time you whispered, "God, I still trust you," through trembling lips, heaven echoed it as worship. You didn't fail when you fell. You triumphed when you rose again. Every scar now carries authority. When you speak, demons remember the sound of your survival. You may not have realized it, but the spiritual realm has been watching your consistency. Even in moments of exhaustion, you kept choosing light. And now, heaven declares that your endurance has matured into spiritual strength. You've proven faithful in the dark. Soon, you will be trusted with visibility. Right now, as you read these words, a shift is happening. The pain that once defined you is becoming the testimony that will inspire others. Your hidden battles were not wasted. They were rehearsals for glory. If this resonates deep within your spirit, make a declaration. Type "still standing" in the comments below. This isn't just a phrase, it's a prophetic announcement. It means that everything designed to destroy you failed. It means you are claiming victory over every unseen war you fought. When you type it, you're aligning your words with heaven's decree that your endurance has not gone unnoticed. Because you, chosen one, are still standing, and that means you are ready for what's next. The heavens have been watching the courtroom of your destiny unfold. For years, accusations have been whispered in the unseen realm, words spoken against your potential, lies planted in the minds of those around you, shadows trying to dim your light. You felt the tension without understanding it, the feeling of being spiritually on trial. Every delay, every false judgment, every season of waiting was heaven gathering evidence in your favor. The time has come. The court of heaven is now in session. The judge of all creation has taken his seat, and the verdict concerning your life is about to be announced. This is not a battle of flesh and blood. This is a divine proceeding. What seemed like chaos in your natural world was a legal battle in the spirit, one that heaven has now concluded. Heaven speaks clearly through the words in the book of Deuteronomy. Chapter 32, verse 4. He is the rock, his works are perfect, and all his ways are just. A faithful God who does no wrong, upright and just is he. That declaration means that no injustice against you will stand. God has seen every secret betrayal, every misjudgment, every false word spoken in darkness. You were never unseen. Heaven was collecting evidence. While you wept, heaven wrote. While you waited, angels gathered testimony, and now the time of vindication arrives. The gavel is raised in the heavenly court, and the voice of the Almighty resounds, case dismissed. Every accusation that tried to chain your destiny breaks under the weight of divine justice. The slander, the envy, the misunderstanding, all of it collapses before truth. You are being cleared, cleansed, and crowned simultaneously. The spiritual charges are dropped because the blood of Christ speaks louder than any curse, louder than any lie. For years you thought you were stuck, but in truth, you were being defended. Every delay was a postponement until heaven could finalize your justification. Now that season of defense transforms into a season of decree. What was hidden will now be spoken aloud. God is about to announce you publicly after protecting you privately. You may have wondered why certain opportunities fell apart just when you were ready. It was because heaven refused to let you walk into rooms where the verdict was still undecided. Had you stepped in too soon, false evidence would have followed you. But now that the case is closed, your name is being cleansed in the spiritual records. The same people who doubted you will witness your elevation, and they will have no choice but to say, "The Lord has done this." This is the mystery of divine timing justice that arrives not when we demand it, but when it will glorify heaven most. You have been called righteous not because you were perfect, but because you refused to surrender your faith. You stayed when others walked away. You believed when logic mocked you. That faith has now become legal testimony in heaven's archives. Chosen one, you are stepping into a new chapter where you no longer need to defend yourself. The divine advocate speaks on your behalf. You don't have to prove your worth, heaven already has. What once was accusation now becomes affirmation. The shame that clung to you is being stripped away, and the dignity of divine justice wraps around you like light. The courtroom doors are opening, and angels escort you out not as a victim, but as one vindicated. You walk forward free, your head lifted high, carrying the quiet authority of someone heaven has defended. The case against you is over. The next sound you'll hear in your spirit will not be accusation, but applause. There is a moment in every destiny when heaven finally calls your name in front of both angels and adversaries. You have reached that moment. The silence that once surrounded your life is breaking. The light that once flickered now burns steadily. For so long, you have walked unnoticed, unseen, uncelebrated, but God was not ignoring you. He was preparing an announcement that could only come at the perfect time. The prophet Isaiah recorded the divine assurance in chapter 60, verse 1. "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you." Those words are not poetry, they are prophecy. You are now living inside that verse. The heavens have whispered your name, and the earth is beginning to echo it. You were hidden for a reason, but hidden things are always meant to be revealed. Every seed must first be buried before it blooms. And now, after years beneath the soil, the shell is breaking and the world is about to see the garden heaven planted in you long ago. This unveiling is not about fame, but purpose. It is not about recognition, but resonance. Heaven's vibration through your life. The pain you endured in private will now become the light that guides others through their darkness. The same wounds that bled in silence will soon speak healing through your voice. You have been called to carry light where shadows still linger. That is why the opposition was so fierce. Darkness always fears exposure. Do not be surprised if certain hearts that once ignored you now start to notice. It is not pride, it is prophecy unfolding. You are not becoming visible because you sought attention. You are being seen because heaven is illuminating what was always divine. Every miracle requires witnesses, and the next one will carry your name upon it. And now, as heaven lifts the curtain from your life, you stand at the edge of something sacred. This moment is both tender and powerful, the instant before dawn. When the world is quiet but heaven is awake, the Spirit whispers softly, "Let your light shine." If you feel that stirring inside, that warmth rising like morning sun in your chest, it's not coincidence. It's an invitation, a holy pull to stay connected to the flow that is birthing through your spirit right now. Because when light finds light, it multiplies. When truth meets open hearts, it spreads like sunrise. So as this word finds a home in your soul, allow it to ripple outward. Let your hands become wings when you like this message. It is as if you are lifting it higher toward heaven's sky. When you share, it becomes a lantern passed from one pilgrim to another in the dark. And when you subscribe, it is like planting your roots by living water, staying close to the source that nourishes your spirit. These are not commands. They are choices, gentle invitations written in light. Follow them only if your heart feels the pull, for the kingdom never forces, it flows. And as you do, remember the rising glory over you was never meant to stay contained. It was meant to travel, to awaken, to heal, like dawn stretching across the horizon. Your obedience turns to illumination. Your time of divine recognition has come. Step into it freely, beautifully, willingly, for this chosen one is the unfolding of who you truly are. There comes a sacred point in every chosen life when heaven whispers, it's time to let go, not because you failed, but because growth demands space. The weight you once carried, the memories, the guilt, the people who could not walk this next mile cannot cross the threshold with you. This is not loss, this is liberation. What feels like breaking is actually unfolding. You've been sensing this, haven't you? The gentle unrest in your spirit, the quiet knowing that some things no longer fit. Conversations that used to spark you now feel hollow. Paths that once glittered now fade under the new light rising within you. It isn't arrogance, it's awakening. You are evolving, and evolution always requires release. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Isaiah, chapter 43, verse 18. Forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? These words are not merely instruction, they are invitation. Heaven is beckoning you to unclench your hands so it can place something greater within them. You cannot receive new oil while clutching empty jars. The ache of separation is real, but it is holy. Every departure is a divine door disguised as goodbye. You may wonder why certain friendships suddenly faded or why opportunities collapsed just when they looked promising. It was never rejection, it was redirection. God saw what your heart couldn't. He knew that comfort can become a cage. You were not meant to remain in old rooms filled with stale air. You were designed to breathe the winds of new beginnings. And yes, letting go hurts. You'll feel the pull of nostalgia, the whisper of the past calling you back. But remember this: every time you release something, heaven releases something too. When Abraham lifted the knife, God released the ram. When Moses lifted his hands, God released the sea. When you lift your trust, God releases your future. The final step before promise is always surrender. You are not being stripped, you are being simplified. Heaven is decluttering your destiny so your hands will be free to hold glory. What you lose now is nothing compared to what's being prepared. Let peace fill the space where attachment once lived. You will see that everything leaving you is making room for everything that's meant for you. Even the pain is prophetic. It's proof that transformation is in motion. If your spirit feels this shift, that sacred trembling between endings and beginnings, respond in faith. Type 8888 below. This number, a symbol of resurrection and new creation, declares that you are ready for renewal. As you write it, imagine the sound of old chains falling and the doors of destiny swinging wide open. It's not just a number. It's a declaration that you choose to release the past and embrace what's next. You are stepping into divine newness light, unburdened and ready to rise. If this word resonates deeply within you, type 888 in the comments. It's not superstition, it's symbolism. 8 is the number of new beginnings. When you write it, you are declaring, I release what was, and I welcome what heaven is birthing in me. Each 888 becomes a spark in the dark, a visible act of surrender that ripples across heaven's timeline. It tells the universe, I am done clinging to the old. It's your silent agreement with God's unfolding proof that you are choosing transformation over comfort, purpose over the past. There are moments in the spirit when the air feels heavier, when you sense resistance without reason. You wake with a strange weight on your chest, and though the room is still, your soul feels like it's under siege. That's because the war in the unseen has intensified. The closer you move toward your calling, the louder the opposition becomes. Darkness recognizes what you carry long before the world does. You may not always see it, but the spiritual realm is active around you. Every dream that tries to unsettle you, every sudden discouragement, every unexpected wave of fear, these are not coincidences. They are counterattacks. The enemy knows that your obedience threatens his dominion. Every time you choose faith over fear, light over bitterness, you reclaim territory. The voice of God thundered in the book of Exodus, chapter 14, verse 14. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. That is your anchor in the middle of unseen chaos. You are not fighting alone. While your hands seem empty, heaven's armies are in formation. You've been feeling the tension because the lines between realms are thin right now. The spiritual atmosphere is charged, heaven advancing, darkness retreating, and you standing between them as a vessel of light. Understand, this resistance is not rejection, it's recognition. When the adversary senses a chosen one rising, he tries to sow confusion, hoping you'll step back just as you're about to break through. But this is where discernment matters most. Do not interpret warfare as absence of God. Often it's proof that He's near. You've wondered why life feels harder after obedience, why peace sometimes disappears right after you say yes. It's because new levels attract new battles. Every elevation in the spirit realm exposes you to forces that once ignored you. But this is how authority is built, not in calm waters, but in storm winds. The storms are not sent to destroy you. They reveal your command. Even Jesus faced tempests that tested His dominion. When He spoke, "Peace, be still," creation obeyed. That same power now pulses within you. The battles you face are invitations to practice divine authority. Don't retreat, speak. Speak life over your home. Speak peace into your mind. Speak destiny over your days. Heaven moves when you do. Sometimes, spiritual warfare doesn't look like thunder and lightning. Sometimes it looks like exhaustion, distraction, or doubt. It's subtle, designed to drain your focus. But remember, even silence can be warfare when used in faith. Stillness is not surrender, it's strategies, and when there is strength in quiet trust. The enemy cannot win against a believer who refuses to quit. That's your secret weapon, endurance. Every time you rise again, light advances. Every time you worship through tears, darkness loses ground. Every prayer, even whispered in weakness, is a sword drawn in the spirit. Chosen one. You must know this, you were not chosen because you were fearless. You were chosen because you were faithful. Heaven trusted you with this battle because you have proven you will not bow to darkness. The war you feel is confirmation of your purpose. So breathe, stand tall, The storm will pass, but your strength will remain. You are not fighting for victory, you are fighting from victory. The Lord Himself goes before you and behind you and within you. Your light is the alarm that darkness fears most. There is a point when pressure becomes unbearable, when it feels as if the very air around you is tightening. You question everything, your strength, your faith, even your purpose. You whisper, "God, where are you?" in heaven, though silent, is closer than it has ever been. You are not being crushed, you are being delivered. The breaking point is never meant to destroy the chosen, it is meant to birth them. Like a seed cracking open underground, your breaking is not the end, but the beginning of emergence. What looks like chaos to the natural eye is creation to the divine one. The soil around you isn't burying you, it's covering you until you're strong enough to grow. The Apostle Paul wrote in his second letter to the Corinthians at chapter 4, verse 8, "We are hard-pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair." Those words hold the rhythm of divine resilience. You've been pressed, but not crushed, broken, but not destroyed. Every tear has watered the ground where new life is forming. The heaviness you feel is the tension between two worlds, the death of what was and the birth of what will be. Heaven never wastes pain. The struggle that has pushed you to your limits is precisely what is preparing you for elevation. Think of the butterfly. It wrestles inside the cocoon until its wings gain enough strength to break free. Without the struggle, it would never fly. The pressure is not punishment, it's preparation. Sometimes God hides purpose inside pain so that only the persevering can find it. You've been asking for clarity, yet heaven has been giving you character, because character can hold what clarity cannot. The fire you've walked through has purified your motives, refined your patience, and deepened your compassion. You are not emerging empty, you are coming out refined. Yes, it hurts to outgrow seasons, to lose the version of yourself that once felt safe. Transformation demands surrender. The old self resists dying, but resurrection always requires something to die first. You can't carry old identities into new callings. The very confusion that once frightened you is the signal that you are stepping into unfamiliar glory. When it feels unbearable, when you think you've reached the end, whisper to yourself, "This pain is not permanent." Every contraction in the spirit announces a coming birth. What you are feeling right now is not an ending, it's labor. Heaven is delivering destiny through you, and yes, it costs something sacred. The greatest callings are born from brokenness. Moses fled into the desert before leading Israel. Joseph was imprisoned before wearing the crown. Jesus wept before the resurrection. The pattern is ancient and divine. Breaking always precedes birthing. And so in this moment of tension, hold still. Don't despise the process. The sound you hear inside, that trembling, that ache, that exhaustion, it is not failure. It is the sound of heaven working through you. When the pressure lifts, you will not recognize yourself. The person who doubted, who feared, who hesitated, that version of you is dissolving. In its place rises someone new, rooted, radiant, and resilient. This is not the end, chosen one. It is your becoming. The breaking point has always been heaven's birthing point. And when the dawn finally breaks, you will understand why the night had to last so long. What was pressing you was shaping you not into who you were, but who you were born to be. There comes a moment when the fog begins to lift, when the confusion that once clouded your path starts to clear, and the pieces of the puzzle begin to fit together. You realize that none of it was random. Every delay, every detour, every heartbreak was leading you here. What once felt like wilderness now reveals itself as strategy. You were never lost. You were being positioned. Heaven has been whispering blueprints into your spirit. subtle directions, divine nudges. Those random thoughts that wouldn't leave. Those recurring dreams that seemed strange, they were not imagination. They were instructions. God has been giving you glimpses of the map, little by little, so your heart could handle the magnitude of what's coming. According to what is revealed in the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verses 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight. This is the moment where trust becomes your greatest weapon. The plan unfolding before you is divine, but it requires your surrender. Heaven will never reveal every step, because faith is not about sight, it's about alignment. You are being taught to walk with confidence in what you cannot see. You've been asking for a sign, but God often responds with silence that teaches you to discern. Silence is not absence, it's invitation. When you stop striving to figure everything out, the whisper becomes clearer. The divine strategy for your next season is not found in the noise of anxiety, but in the stillness of obedience. Look back for a moment, remember how every apparent mistake brought you to a lesson, how every heartbreak birthed wisdom, how every detour introduced you to something vital. You didn't lose time. You gained revelation. Now you are no longer walking blindly, you are walking prophetically. Heaven is assigning you to specific spaces, people, ideas, missions that require your light. The strategy is not about speed, it's about accuracy. God is moving you like a chess piece, with purpose and precision. Where you thought you were being delayed, you were being positioned for perfect timing. Soon, doors will open that feel too tailored to be coincidence. Conversations will align. Opportunities will appear. Confirmations will arrive in waves. When they do, don't hesitate, move with faith. You've already been prepared for this moment. Every lesson behind you is training for what's ahead. And when fear tries to whisper again when it tells you that you're not ready, silence it with this truth: you were not chosen by chance. You were chosen by design. If this word resonates deep in your spirit, type "I'm ready" below. This is not performance, it's prophecy. Those two words become a declaration that you choose alignment over anxiety, purpose over hesitation. Each time you write them, it's as if heaven hears your yes and moves another piece of your destiny into place. Because the blueprint is unfolding. And this time, you'll see how every unseen step was divine preparation for the revelation now rising before you. When you type "I'm ready," you're not just writing, you're responding to heaven's whisper. It's your soul standing tall, declaring before unseen realms, I choose obedience over fear, alignment over confusion. Every "I'm ready" becomes a seed in the soil of destiny. It tells God, I trust your timing. It shifts the atmosphere around you, inviting divine order to replace every lingering hesitation. Everything that can be shaken is being shaken not to destroy you, but to reveal what cannot be moved. The ground beneath your feet feels uncertain, but that's because heaven is rebuilding your foundation. What once supported you is being replaced with something eternal. The trembling isn't punishment, it's construction. You are standing inside a holy renovation. It feels uncomfortable, doesn't it? The familiar is falling apart. Plans you trusted are dissolving. But listen, you're not falling. You're being repositioned. Just as a potter presses, reshapes, and sometimes breaks the clay to create something stronger, so too is God reshaping you for the weight of glory you are meant to carry. The Apostle Paul reminds us in the letter to the Hebrews, chapter 12, verse 28. Therefore, since we are receiving a kingdom that cannot be shaken, let us be thankful, and so worship God acceptably with reverence and awe. Those words are a promise. What's crumbling isn't meant to last. What's left after the shaking is what's truly you, purified, unshakable, eternal. The divine tremor comes to expose the weak structures you built out of fear or comfort. It tears down illusions so truth can stand. Think of a tree in the wind. The storm doesn't uproot it. It teaches the roots to go deeper. That's what's happening inside you. The shaking is driving your spirit into the depths of faith, anchoring you beyond circumstances. While the surface quivers, your roots find the eternal soil of God's presence. You may feel like life has been dismantled piece by piece, but every collapse has purpose. When walls fall, light enters. When control slips from your hands, grace steps in. Heaven is removing the scaffolding of self-reliance so you can finally see what was always holding you up, divine mercy. Don't fear the tremors. They are heaven's heartbeat reminding you that only truth remains. Every false foundation is giving way to make room for glory. The noise, the uncertainty, the chaos. It's the sound of destiny rearranging itself to match heaven's design for your life. And as you stand amid it all, remember this stability is not found in what surrounds you, but in who sustains you. You are not the victim of the shaking. You are the vessel being strengthened through it. The same hands that allow the storm are the ones holding you steady through it. Now take a breath. Let gratitude rise from the rubble. When you give thanks in the middle of shaking, you declare that you trust the builder more than the building. That's worship in its purest form. And if this message resonates, if it feels like light breaking through the cracks, then let your response be as natural as exhaling. When you like this message, imagine it as lighting a candle in the dark. When you share, think of it as opening a window so others can feel the wind of renewal. And when you subscribe, see it as planting your roots deeper into a growing garden of faith, where souls like yours are finding strength in the same shaking. No pressure, no demand, just the beauty of choice, a choice to let your light join others, to let hope ripple beyond your own story. Because though the world shakes, you, chosen one, will remain unmovable, a living monument to the strength of divine design. There is a sacred moment in the life of every chosen one when heaven decides you are ready to carry what others could not. It doesn't come with fanfare, but with stillness, a quiet weight that settles upon your shoulders, heavy, yet holy. It's the mantle of authority. You don't ask for it, it finds you. It comes not because you've achieved perfection, but because you have proven perseverance. You can feel it, can't you? Something has shifted inside you. The same words you once whispered in prayer now carry a strange power. When you speak peace, the atmosphere changes. When you pray, you sense movement in the unseen. Heaven has begun to trust your voice. The prophet Elijah's story echoes this moment in the second book of Kings, chapter 2, verse 13. Elisha picked up Elijah's cloak that had fallen from him and went back and stood on the bank of the Jordan. That cloak, that mantle represented more than honor. It represented responsibility. To carry the mantle is to carry heaven's heartbeat. It means you no longer speak for yourself, but for the one who called you. Every chosen one eventually reaches this intersection when calling becomes commissioning. The weight you feel is not burden, it's authority forming. Authority doesn't come through applause, it comes through surrender. You've walked through enough silence to learn the language of heaven. You've endured enough storms to understand that true power doesn't shout, it stands still. Authority is quiet confidence anchored in divine alignment. You've noticed how certain environments no longer drain you the same way. The fears that once paralyzed you now bow to your presence. It's not arrogance, it's awareness. You are no longer reacting to the world, you are reshaping it with your words, your prayers, your presence. The light within you has matured, and darkness knows it. But with the mantle comes responsibility. Authority without humility becomes arrogance. Power without love becomes control. The mantle you carry must remain soaked in compassion. Remember, the same hands that part seas must also wipe tears. True authority leads with mercy. Heaven didn't crown you so you could rule. It clothed you so you could serve. You'll begin to notice the difference between noise and instruction. People will talk, but you will discern truth from distraction. The Spirit will give you new eyes to see beyond appearances, new ears to catch whispers others miss. That is the mark of the mantle supernatural perception wrapped in peace. There will be days when the weight feels heavy. You'll wonder why others seem free while you must stay consecrated. You'll look at their freedom and feel the cost of your calling. But remember, oil always costs something. The more sacred the assignment, the deeper the surrender. This weight is your sign that heaven trusts you with influence that must not be mishandled. And yet, in the same breath, there is beauty in it. The mantle glows faintly in the spirit, a shimmering reminder that you have been chosen to represent light in dark places. You are not walking alone. The same angels that once guarded you now accompany you. Every step you take echoes through eternity, leaving a trail of fire for others to follow. This is your divine promotion, unseen by crowds, but celebrated by heaven. You have crossed from testing to trust, from wandering to wielding. The mantle rests upon you now, not as a symbol of pride, but of partnership. You and heaven move as one. Walk gently, chosen one. You carry the fragrance of divine authority now. When you speak, creation listens. This is it, the moment everything in your life has been preparing you for. The final step of obedience. Not the loud kind that seeks attention, but the quiet kind that shifts eternity. Heaven has been watching how you move in the small things, because the small things reveal the truth of your heart. Every time you chose surrender over stubbornness, love over pride, faith over fear. Heaven took note. Now the divine spotlight rests upon you. Not to expose your flaws, but to reveal your readiness. Heaven is whispering, will you trust me this time fully? This is not about a single decision. It's about complete alignment. God is not asking for perfection. He is asking for permission to finish what He started in you. As Jesus Himself declared in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 11, verse 28. Blessed rather are those who hear the word of God and obey it. Obedience is the purest expression of love. It's not blind submission, it's divine agreement. It's your soul saying, I trust your heart even when I don't understand your hand. Every great transformation in Scripture began with that one act, a yes. Abraham left everything familiar. Noah built something the world had never seen. Mary believed what logic could not explain. Every one of them reached the edge of uncertainty and chose obedience. You are now standing at that same edge. Heaven's eyes are upon you. Angels hold their breath. Creation leans forward, waiting for your answer. Will you step, or will you stay? Because this is the final step before fullness, the threshold between almost and arrival. You may not see the whole path, but faith doesn't need full light, it needs full trust. The step you take today becomes the bridge for tomorrow's miracle. What looks like risk from Earth's view is actually safety from Heaven's view. God's will is the only place where your destiny cannot be stolen. And yes, obedience costs something. It may cost your comfort, your control, your certainty. But what you gain is peace beyond understanding. You'll find that surrender is not loss, it's liberation. It doesn't shrink you, it restores you. The moment you say yes, chains fall that you didn't even know you wore. If this word stirs something deep within you, Respond in faith. Type 5/5 in the comments below. 5 represents grace, and this triple declaration means grace multiplied. As you write it, imagine heaven's light marking your name not with pressure, but with promise. It's your silent yes to divine instruction, your agreement that you are ready for the final step. Because once you choose obedience, everything changes. Heaven moves swiftly, the impossible becomes natural. The path clears, and your life, once filled with uncertainty, becomes the living proof that surrender always leads to glory. Step forward, chosen one. The final step is not the end. It's the opening of eternity's door. When you type 555, you're not just entering numbers, you're releasing a signal of surrender into the atmosphere. It tells heaven, I am ready for grace to finish what obedience began. Every 555 becomes a bridge between your faith and God's fulfillment. It symbolizes multiplied favor, grace upon grace, strength upon strength, divine alignment layered over your next steps like golden footprints across sacred ground. Let your 555 be personal, a quiet yes that only heaven fully understands. It's your declaration that you will walk forward, even trembling, because you trust that divine grace will steady your every step. Something holy happens the moment you say yes. The atmosphere around you shifts, almost imperceptibly at first, a quiet hum in the spirit, a sense that heaven has begun to move, that yes was more than words. It was ignition. You can feel it now, a warmth in your chest, a stirring in your soul. That's the activation of power. You have crossed a spiritual threshold. The moment obedience took root in your heart, heaven responded with release. The same spirit that hovered over the deep in Genesis now hovers over you, breathing life into what seemed lifeless. What was dormant begins to awaken. What was dry starts to flow. Miracles do not begin in the sky, they begin in surrendered hearts like yours. As the prophet Joel declared in chapter 2, verse 28, and afterward, I will pour out my spirit on all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy. Your old men will dream dreams. Your young men will see visions. Those words are being fulfilled in you. The pouring out has begun. You're not just a listener anymore, you've become a conduit. Power flows through your willingness. It's not loud, it's not chaotic, it's steady, pure and holy. Like fire that burns without consuming, the anointing begins to rise from the center of your being. At first, it feels unfamiliar, a new awareness of divine presence woven into your ordinary moments. You start sensing guidance in whispers, grace in pauses, strength where you once felt weakness. The impossible begins to look possible because you've stopped relying on your own strength. You've entered partnership with heaven. Power doesn't always look like thunder or miracles in the sky. Sometimes it looks like peace in chaos. It looks like forgiveness when revenge would be easier. Hope when despair seems logical. Worship when silence feels safer. Every act of love you give under pressure releases light into dark places. That is power invisible, but undeniable. There is also boldness rising in you. The same fear that used to grip your voice is losing its hold. You will speak truth, not to prove yourself, but to reveal heaven's heart. When you speak life over others, you activate healing. When you bless instead of curse, you shift atmospheres. That's not personality, that's authority. Be aware this awakening will draw attention, both light and shadow. People will be drawn to your peace without knowing why. Darkness may test your resolve, but it will fail, because power anchored in love cannot be shaken. The presence of God is now your shield, your covering, your quiet armor. You are walking into rooms not just as yourself, but as one who carries presence. Angels accompany you, and the Spirit goes before you. You are becoming what the world desperately needs, a living intersection where heaven meets earth. Every breath you take now has purpose. Every step carries weight. Still, remember this truth: divine power is never about domination, it's about restoration. It heals what is broken, lifts what is fallen, and lights what is dimmed. You are being entrusted with this power not to exalt yourself, but to exalt grace itself. You have waited long for this activation, but heaven's timing is flawless. The power now awakening in you will not fade. It will deepen. It will shape your words, your actions, your presence. You will begin to see evidence everywhere, not because you strive for it, but because you have become it. The world will soon recognize it too, not through spectacle, but through the quiet authority of your transformed life. This is the hour of your rising. The activation has begun. The moment power awakens within you, it will draw confrontation. Light always attracts attention from both heaven and hell. You will begin to notice the shift. People who once walked beside you may start to pull away. Environments that once felt safe will suddenly feel tight, uncomfortable, too small. This is not coincidence. The light within you has grown, and darkness cannot stand unchallenged in its presence. Do not be afraid when resistance comes. It is not a sign that something is wrong. It is proof that something is working. You've entered a new realm of spiritual visibility. The moment you stepped into obedience and power, your presence became a declaration of war to every force that prefers shadows to truth. The Apostle Paul reminds us in the letter to the Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 12. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. You are not fighting people. You are confronting principalities, systems, thoughts, and energies that oppose divine order. Your battle is not about you. It's about what you carry. The darkness is not intimidated by your personality. It's terrified of your purpose. This is where discernment becomes vital. The enemy rarely arrives as an obvious adversary. He comes disguised as distraction, disguised as doubt, disguised as delay. You'll hear whispers that say, maybe you made it up, or you're not strong enough for this. Those lies are strategies meant to make you step back. But remember, heaven never anoints the unprepared. If the mantle rests upon you, it's because you are capable of carrying it. Confrontation is never comfortable. Sometimes it looks like conflict with people who no longer align with your mission. Other times it's an internal battle, a wrestling between your old fears and your new identity. But this confrontation is necessary. It is through resistance that revelation strengthens. Imagine gold in a furnace. The heat doesn't destroy it. It removes the impurities that dull its shine. That's what spiritual confrontation does. It refines you. The testing isn't meant to expose weakness. It's meant to reveal purity. Every pushback becomes polish. Every challenge a chiseling toward your true shape. And even as darkness rises, you are not unguarded. Heaven surrounds you. Angels walk beside you. You may feel pressure, but you are protected. When you walk into rooms heavy with tension, your presence alone begins to shift the atmosphere. The peace you carry is warfare in disguise. Do not be surprised if you start sensing tension without explanation, rooms that feel heavy, conversations that drain your energy, sudden waves of weariness. These are signs that your spirit is detecting conflict in the unseen. When it happens, don't panic. Simply breathe and remember, you are not reacting. You are reigning. Speak peace. Carry calm. The authority you've been given isn't loud, it's steady. The days ahead may bring moments that test your resolve. But remember, light does not fear darkness, it exposes it. You don't need to shout, simply stand. Your endurance will dismantle the enemy's illusion. The confrontation you face now is the final refinement before full release. Stand firm. Keep your heart soft and your gaze lifted. You were never meant to fight for victory, you were meant to stand from it. The light you carry will not be extinguished, it will expand, and soon, even the darkness will have to testify this one belongs to the light. When the battle subsides and the air clears, something begins to glow around you, a radiance not born of sunlight but of spirit. It is quiet, yet unmistakable. The season of testing gives way to the unveiling of glory. Everything you've endured begins to make sense. The tears, the isolation, the obedience, the resistance, they have all carved the vessel that now holds divine fire. You have become living evidence that pain can give birth to purpose. The Apostle Paul wrote in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 3, verse 18, "And we all, who with unveiled faces contemplate the Lord's glory, are being transformed into his image with ever-increasing glory, which comes from the Lord, who is the Spirit." This transformation is not external. It's the kind that quietly rewrites your atmosphere. People begin to notice peace when you enter the room. They sense light without knowing why. You no longer have to announce who you are. The presence you carry speaks louder than words. The glory of God doesn't shout, it shines. And here you are, chosen one, standing in the dawn of your revealing. You have become the reflection of heaven's faithfulness, not by avoiding the fire, but by walking through it without losing your song. You carry the aroma of endurance, the beauty of someone who's been broken and rebuilt by grace. Glory doesn't mean perfection. It means transparency, your willingness to let divine light pass through you unfiltered. You no longer hide the scars. You let them glimmer. You no longer shrink from your past. You let it testify. Every scar now glows with evidence that God never left. It's here, in this unveiled state, that your story becomes seed. Every word you share, every gesture of compassion becomes a spark that ignites someone else's hope. This is how heaven multiplies light, not through sermon, but through lives transformed into living messages. So now, as your heart feels this soft flame of glory rising, let it flow. When you light this message, imagine it as lighting another candle in a dark valley, one flame reaching another, until the night glows with unseen unity. When you share, see it as releasing a dove from your hands, carrying peace across unseen distances to someone whose faith is flickering. When you subscribe, think of it not as obligation, but as planting your roots in a growing field of light, where souls like yours gather to rise together. And when you comment, let it be your way of laying down a stone of remembrance, proof that you were here when heaven spoke. There is no demand, only invitation. The same spirit that awakened you invites you to become part of the ripple, the spreading of divine resonance through willing hearts. Every click, every word, every whisper of agreement becomes a note in heaven's song. You are free to respond however your spirit leads. And as you do, remember this: the glory upon you is not yours to keep. It's meant to reflect, to mirror the kindness that saved you, the love that never let go. You are a mirror of mercy, a lighthouse for those still in storm. You have not just survived the process, you have been transfigured by it. And now, heaven watches as your light joins the chorus of others, one radiant soul among a rising generation of the chosen. The unveiling of glory is not an ending, but the beginning of shining without fear. The world is ready, and so are you. Heaven's light now rests upon you. not as a fleeting glow, but as a crown unseen by eyes of flesh, yet felt in every breath you take. The journey that began in hiddenness has brought you to this sacred moment of recognition. You have been crowned, not with gold or jewels, but with divine authority, honor, and peace. This crowning is not the reward for perfection. It is heaven's acknowledgement of perseverance. You endured what others avoided. You kept walking through storms that would have silenced most. You refused to give up when the road grew narrow and lonely. And for that endurance, heaven now adorns you with something eternal, a spiritual crown that cannot fade, rust, or be stolen. As the Apostle James wrote in chapter 1, verse 12, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because, having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him." That promise is being fulfilled in you. You are no longer the same person who began this journey. The wilderness stripped away your fear. The warfare revealed your courage, and obedience shaped your spirit into something unbreakable. This crown is not placed upon your head in ceremony, but in silence, the kind of silence that carries eternity's applause. You may not feel it yet, but heaven does. The invisible realm knows your name. Angels recognize your authority. Darkness knows to retreat when you enter a room. You carry an identity that cannot be taken away, child of God, crowned with light. Imagine this: a crown woven not from metal, but from moments. Every tear that fell in secret became a gem. Every prayer whispered in exhaustion became gold. Every act of kindness, every step of faith, every choice to love instead of hate, all of it has been forged into this unseen diadem. You are clothed in the evidence of heaven's faithfulness. But remember, the crown is not just an adornment, it is an assignment. You are crowned not to rule over others, but to serve them. The true royalty of heaven is humility. You carry influence not to exalt yourself, but to lift those who have fallen under the weight of despair. Your crown shines brightest when you kneel beside the broken. As you walk forward, the world may still not see the fullness of what rests upon you, but creation will respond to it. The way light bends toward the morning, circumstances will begin to shift around your presence. Opportunities will unfold. Words you speak will carry weight. You will become a resting place for divine wisdom. And yet, even now, humility must remain your throne. Do not let pride whisper that the journey is over. The crown is not the conclusion, it's the confirmation. It means heaven now trusts you to carry greater glory with greater grace. Wear it gently, so move quietly. Let the light you bear do the speaking. Some will misunderstand it, others will be drawn to it. Your task is not to explain, but to embody. The more you walk in love, the brighter your crown will gleam. This is the moment heaven has waited for, when one who was broken now stands whole. When one who was hidden now shines. Your crown is not an object, it's an atmosphere. It radiates from within you, declaring to every realm that you have overcome. The crowning moment has come, and you wear it with peace. Let it rest upon you like sunrise, gentle, golden, eternal. The world feels different now, not because it has changed, but because you have. The weight that once bent your shoulders has become the strength that straightens your spine. You have walked through wilderness and warfare, fire and silence, and on the other side of it all, you have discovered something sacred, peace that no storm can touch. This is the new beginning. The Spirit whispered through the prophet Isaiah, chapter 61, verse 3, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. Those words now describe you. The ashes of your past no longer define you. They have become the soil where your new life grows. Every loss, every unanswered question, every heartbreak has been exchanged for beauty. You no longer wear grief as identity. You wear glory as inheritance. This new beginning doesn't arrive with noise or celebration. It comes like dawn, slow, steady, inevitable. You wake one morning and realize that fear no longer speaks as loudly. You look at the future and feel excitement instead of dread. You begin to move through life not as a survivor, but as a builder. What once felt like rubble beneath your feet now becomes the foundation for the temple of your destiny. Heaven has rewritten your story. The chapters once filled with pain have become testimonies of resilience. The verses of loss now sing songs of restoration. Even your scars have changed shape. They no longer hurt. They shine. Every mark of the past has turned into a window where light enters. You are not returning to who you were before. That version of you no longer exists. You have been transformed, reshaped, refined. The flame that once burned to test you now burns to guide you. The fire no longer consumes, it comforts. It reminds you that everything which tried to destroy you only purified your purpose. You will find that your vision has sharpened. You can see beauty in the ordinary, holiness in the mundane, the smallest act's kindness to a stranger, a whispered prayer, a moment of stillness will feel sacred, because you now live from alignment. Every breath becomes worship. You are no longer waiting for miracles, you are one. The voices that once doubted you will fade into distance. You no longer need their validation. The only voice that matters is the one that called you chosen long before you understood what it meant. You've learned that divine identity is not earned, it's embraced. So, as you step forward, walk with gentleness. The future does not demand your fear, it desires your faith. Each day will carry traces of heaven's order, signs that you are walking in rhythm with divine purpose. You will notice how life unfolds differently now, not rushed, but radiant, not striving, but flowing. Look up. The horizon that once looked so far now glows within reach. The doors that were locked are opening quietly, one by one. The path is clear, and though it still winds through mystery, you will never walk it alone again. You have become what heaven intended from the start, light clothed in flesh, love translated into motion. This is not the ending, it's the genesis of everything new. So breathe, chosen one. Feel the stillness around you. The final step has already been taken. All that remains is to live boldly, freely, faithfully in the fullness of who you were always meant to be. The final word has been spoken, yet the story is just beginning. You've walked through revelation, refinement, and rebirth, and now you stand as living proof that grace transforms everything it touches. Heaven does not end your journey here. It extends it through you. The message you have received was never meant to remain within the walls of your heart. Like fire in a lamp, it was meant to be carried, to illuminate, to multiply. When you like this message, imagine it as a spark, one flame joining countless others until the world begins to glow again. When you share, think of it as sending out a piece of light that may reach someone standing in the darkness you once knew. When you comment, let your words become ripples in eternity, testifying that you heard heaven clearly and chose to respond. And when you subscribe, see it as planting your spirit in a field of continual awakening, choosing to stay connected to the river that keeps flowing from heaven's heart. These are not commands, they are invitations, gentle, sacred, free. You are under no obligation. You are responding to resonance. The same spirit that found you here now moves through your obedience to reach another soul who's searching for their own awakening. Remember, what you felt is not fleeting emotion. It is divine appointment. The words that met you here were not echoes of chance. They were the language of destiny, reminding you who you are and whose you are. So let your heart rest. Let your light travel. The message continues, not in speech, but in the way you live, love, and lead. You are one of the chosen ones, crowned, awakened, unstoppable.